Good evening, all. I welcome you today at this virtual book launch and discussion organized by the Bar Council of Punjab and Haryana. The Bar Council is mandated by the Advocates Act 1961 by Section 6EE to conduct seminars and organize talks on legal topics and promote publications, journals, and papers of legal interest, in the line of which the Council has been engaged in organizing various webinars and virtual discussions covering a wide array of legal topics, with an endeavor to ensure that this period of continued homestay be made useful and productive for lawyers, law students, and academicians. Today is one such event where international family law jurisprudence is at the core of it. I humbly extend my warm welcome to Her Ladyship, Honorable Miss Justice Indu Malhotra, Judge of the Supreme Court of India. I also welcome Honorable Mr. Justice A.K. Sikri, International Judge at the Singapore International Arbitration Commercial Court, SICC, and former Judge of the Supreme Court of India. I also welcome Mr. Soli J. Sorabji, International Jurist and former Attorney General of India. Post launch, the book in discussion today is titled The Global Indians and the Law by Oakbridge Publishing, authored by seasoned family law global experts, Mr. Anil and Mr. Ranjit Malhotra. Mr. Anil Malhotra, who has appearances in courts all over India, has authored in a total of 9 books. He is a legal analyst and an alumni of SOAS London. For over 36 years, he continues to assist courts as an amicus and as an expert to render reports in foreign courts on appointment by the bench in overseas jurisdictions. He has significant published work internationally and has both global and domestic conference participations over 30 years. He is a resource person at the National Judicial Academy, Bhopal, Chandigarh Judicial Academy, National University of Advanced Legal Studies, Kerala, National Universities of Law, Symbiosis, Pune, Jindal Global Law University, Sonipat. He is a fellow of International Academy of Family Law, IAFL, and India representative of the Family Law Committee in the International Law Association, London. He was the only lawyer amongst the 13-member Justice Bindal Committee constituted by the Government of India to examine issues relating to inter-country parental child removal. His co-author, Mr. Ranjit Malhotra, was the first Indian lawyer to be awarded the prestigious Felix Scholarship to read for the LLM degree at the University of London. He specializes in private international law, commissions expert reports on Indian family law issues in foreign jurisdictions, renders expert analysis and testimony for family law, surrogacy, and immigration cases, and advises foreign lawyers. He is lecturing regularly on international family law issues at premier national law schools in India. He has been nominated to the Board of Governors of the International Academy of Family Lawyers. He was a special invited at the Hague Expert Meeting on issues of domestic family violence and the 1980 Hague Child Abduction Convention held at the University of Westminster, London in the year 2017. His firm, Malhotra and Malhotra Associates, is on the panel of lawyers for 11 foreign missions, embassies based in New Delhi, including but not limited to American Embassy, Australian High Commission, British High Commission, Canadian High Commission, New Zealand High Commission, amongst others. I now extend a kind invitation to Mr. Soli Sorabji. Mr. Sorabji, as you all know, is associated with all 9 publications of the authors in a renowned is a renowned international jurist, well known to all and most respectfully referred to as the Doyen of the Bar by young lawyers. He was the Attorney General for India from 1989 to 1990, and then again from 1998 to 2004. Mr. Sarabji is a champion of freedom of speech and expression. He was honored with the Padma Vibhushan Award by the Government of India in March 2002 for his defense of freedom of speech and protection of human rights. While at his chambers in New Delhi, I request him to formally announce the online release of the book in the benign presence of Honorable Mr. Justice A.K. Sikri and Her Ladyship, Honorable Ms. Justice Indu Malhotra. I request all on the screen to make it convenient to visibly hold the copy of the book. Mr. Sarabji, please. Mr. Sarabji, you need to Rajatji, he needs to unmute himself, please. Yes, sir. Sir, please now.
Yes, sir. Now you can speak. Now, sir, yes.
Thank you very much for the very flattering introduction. The book, Dhruvad Indian and the Law, by Anita Ranjit Malhotra, is something like scotch and soda. I leave it to you to guess how much of scotch is Anil and how much of soda is Ranjit. But it's a delightful book, and I'll say one thing, that it showed the ignorance I had of the subject. We all think, most of us all think we know everything about everything. But till I went through the book, I had no idea about the various issues which have been raised in the book about abandoned wives, about children in different jurisdictions and subject to different laws. And the way it's been done by the Malhotra brothers is something very creditable. You know, there's one thing I didn't like, is I realized my ignorance when I went through the book. My ignorance of the various issues covered. Now I'm a little less ignorant, thanks to the Malhotra brothers, thanks to the Scotch and soda. And now I think this book will be useful not only to lawyers and practitioners, but policymakers, to people in various embassies and high commissions, because this book throws a lot of light on subjects which are not very well developed and very well known. And I wish this book every success, and I wish we, all of us, benefit from going through this book, and hope the Malhotra brothers, the Scotch and soda, will bring another book in a short time.
Can you please request Mr. Sarabji to open the ribbon of the book?
This is the ribbon.
Sarabji, please.
The ribbon. You can just pull this. Just. Yes, sir. Yes.
Sir, it's very heavy, you said.
What a heavy book.
Very heavy book, sir.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for the kind words. Formally, now Oak Bridge can start selling it, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Grateful, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Soli, sir. I now extend a kind invitation to Her Ladyship, Honorable Miss Justice Indhu Malhotra. Honorable Miss Justice Indhu Malhotra is a judge of the Supreme Court of India with a strong outreach on social justice issues. Coming from a family of illustrious lawyers, she firmly believes in work 24/7. Her Ladyship was the first Honorable Lady Judge to be elevated from the bar to the Supreme Court and the second Lady Counsel to be designated as Senior Advocate by the Supreme Court. Her Ladyship, a prolific writer, has authored 4 editions of a commentary on the law of arbitration, 2020. Co-author of key landmark judgments, Her Ladyship expressed independent views in the celebrated Sabarimala case. Most humbly request Her Ladyship to please give her analytical viewpoints on the law touching global Indians in view of the emerging conflict areas in international family law jurisprudence. Besides the way the subject can be taken forward, any other views and suggestions? Your Ladyship, please.
Thank you, Mr. Sudhir Sidhu. Mr. Justice Arjun Sikri, former Judge, Supreme Court, International Judge of the Singapore Commercial Court, Mr. Sorabji, the Malhotra brothers, the publishers, members of the bar, and members of academia, my warm greetings to all of you on this occasion when the launch of the 9th book by the prolific writers, the two Malhotra brothers, has been launched this evening on the Global Indians and Law. The book sheds light on various contemporary issues such as surrogacy, marriage and divorce, nationality and citizenship, inter-country adoptions, child custody, and parental abduction. With the increase of cross-border migrations and inter-country marriages, several issues have arisen in the field of private international law, which is mostly governed in our country by judicial precedents. There is just one convention which India has ratified in 2015. I'll come to that in a moment, but it's basically evolved from judicial dicta and precedents. Today, today there are about 30 million Indians who are non-residents, and these issues have arisen in a big way with respect to marriages between people not only between non-resident Indians, but persons from different nationalities who come from different social and cultural backgrounds. Disputes of various kinds have arisen, which entail the jurisdiction of courts from different nationalities being invoked for the resolution of these disputes. There has been a proliferation of conundrums in international family law. In fact, it was the 218th Law Commission in 2009 which noted the increased number of divorce cases, custody cases, disputes which were on the increase, which led to international child abduction cases. In fact, I got introduced to the author of the book, Mr. Anil Malhotra, who appeared before us in the Supreme Court in a case of two children who had been brought to India without the consent or knowledge of the father. And there was a prolonged litigation. He succeeded all through, and we were eventually able to send the children back with the mother back to the US and on a reconciliation of the entire family. Now, there are 3 or 4 contemporary issues which I propose to just touch upon, which are of contemporary relevance. One is of international parental abduction. There is, as I said a minute ago, no legislative provision which governs the offense of parental child abduction. The Hague Convention on Civil Aspects of International Child Abduction is there, but India has not been a signatory. India did not become a signatory for various reasons, because it entails certain criminal proceedings being initiated against the delinquent parent, and it was considered appropriate not to sign in, but it is certainly referred to in various judicial decisions. The 218th Law Commission report had recommended that India should become a signatory to the 1980 Convention on Civil Aspects on International Child Abduction, but India has chosen not to sign in, although we use it in our decisions. The entire corpus of child rights law has evolved through judicial dicta, and the judicial dicta has evolved certain principles. The first principle is that the welfare of the child is of paramount importance. This is the first principle which has been evolved right from the Elizabeth Dinshaw case in 1987 onwards. So it's over 30 years that has been the paramount consideration, that while balancing the competing interests of the parents, one has to give paramount consideration to the best interest of the child. The best interest, there have been many cases where the court has held that the basis has to be The theory, it was to begin with, the court had said the theory of closest contact should be the determining factor. What was the jurisdiction which had the closest contact with the child? But that has, I think, evolved to further principles with the evolution of law and the growth of this area of jurisprudence. In fact, in a recent judgment, there's an interesting remark which was made in Rakshans Sharma versus Arun Sharma, where the Supreme Court said the child is not a chattel or a ball that is bounced to and fro from the parents. It is only the child's welfare which is a focal point for consideration. Now, the second principle which has evolved is with respect to shared custody to prevent parental alienation. Granting visitation rights, granting partial custody to both the parents, a balancing effort is made so that there is no psychological damage or emotional trauma caused to the child, and the child learns to grow with both the parents, even though they have competing interests and they have conflicting perspectives with respect to the growth of the child. The age of the child is normally taken into consideration. If the child is below 5 years, normally the custody rests with the mother, and that is in fact provided also in the Hindu Hindu Minority and Guardianship Act. It says, Section 5 says that until the age of 5, the mother should have a prior right over the formative years of the child, after which the father gets a prior right. But that has, in practice, the courts have tried to evolve various principles based on the facts of the case as to how to balance the competing interests and take the best care consideration of the children. The second principle which has evolved is comity of courts. So the courts do take into consideration that if there is a prior order passed by a family court or the concerned court in a foreign jurisdiction where the child was residing, you normally give deference to the order of the court. And the Supreme Court has, in several cases, ordered that the child be returned to the country where he was last residing, so that the position, the status quo is maintained and he is not deprived of the natural moorings where he was. In fact, even the Hindu Minority and Guardianship Act says the jurisdiction is of the court where the child was ordinarily residing. So comity of courts is the second principle which has been evolved by judicial dicta, that you always give deference to the court which was first seized of the matter and which has been referred to as the first strike in several decisions. But these are, of course, not inviolable or infallible. They are modified if the facts of the case dictate that a different or modified view should be taken. In Nitya, in fact, I do want to mention this, that the first strike was watered down in the judgment of Nitya Anand, which is a recent judgment of 2017, in which principle of comity of courts, first strike, that is when a foreign court passes a substantive order prior to the domestic court, and the forum of convenience must yield to the welfare and benefit of the child. So this principle was modified given the facts of the case. The third aspect, in fact, there is a very interesting concept which was evolved in a recent judgment in which Mr. Anil Malhotra, I just mentioned, was appearing before us, was in the case of Jasmeet Kaur versus Navtej Singh. It was a case where the wife refused to go back with the children because she apprehended that the husband will launch a tirade of criminal proceedings, etc., on account of parental abduction. So what the court did was they passed a protective detailed order. So the Supreme Court directed the family court in the US to pass a mirror order mirroring all the protections which were granted by the Delhi High Court, and said pass a mirror order so that the wife is not threatened, so that she goes back into a secure environment and the children are also reunited with the family. And I thought it was a very interesting and new concept which emerged by judicial dicta with respect to granting a mirror order, and that has actually was very successfully worked out. Now, another issue which I do want to touch upon is with respect to inter-country adoptions. During the second half of the 20th century, irrespective of nationality, there have been a lot of foreign couples, particularly from Sweden and those parts of the world, who come to India for adoption of children. Several issues arose for the protection of these children, that they were not being misused, they were in fact genuinely being adopted for bringing about a complete family to a couple who were childless or for whatever reasons. There was no legislation at all. So it was in the Lakshmi Kant judgment that the Supreme Court came out with detailed guidelines pursuant to which a body was set up, which is called CARA, C-A-R-A, and which provided detailed guidelines for inter-country adoptions to make it possible that the child is adopted. There is a home study done of the parents, the adoptive parents who live overseas, to ensure that the child is not exploited, he is well taken care of, and various guidelines have been framed in this regard. And they have also tied up with the local bodies to ensure that there are home visits so that the children are not exploited in any manner. They are given good education, they are given good nutrition and taken care of. So this has actually also emerged from judicial decisions. There has been the Convention on the Protection of Children and Cooperation in respect of inter-country adoption of 1993. India ratified this recently in 2015. This was the convention which I was mentioning a little while ago, which India has ratified for the protection of children who are adopted cross borders. Now, this actually does apply to the Hindu community. Insofar as adoption is concerned, it is not permissible under the personal laws of Muslims, Parsis, Christians, and Jews. So, recourse has actually been taken under the Guardian and Wards Act and the Juvenile Justice Act to enable parents from these religious communities also to adopt children, even though their personal laws do not make any provision for it or provide for it. In fact, there's a recent judgment which I will mention. It is Shabnam Hashmi versus Union of India, in which the Supreme Court has held that the Juvenile Justice Act, being a secular law under which members of all religious communities could adopt a child with full rights as natural parents. In India, foreign prospective adoptive parents make an application before the district court, and only if the district court is fully satisfied and enters his satisfaction, which is in the best interest of the child, that can he move forward under the guidelines laid down in the Lakshmi Kant Pandey versus Union of India case. The third aspect which I want to touch upon is single parents being appointed as sole guardians. It was in the case of ABC versus State, in which the Supreme Court held that even a single mother who was an unwed mother belonging to the Christian community, she was declared to have the right to maintain a petition under the Guardian and Wards Act to claim sole and exclusive guardianship of a child born out of the wedlock. In fact, I had argued this matter, and Justice Vikramjit Sen was the judge, and this has been an important judgment because it has enabled even unwed mothers to be declared as sole guardians of a child born out of wedlock. The fourth aspect which I want to touch upon is on the issue of surrogacy. India is known to be one of the hubs for surrogacy. In fact, it was Gujarat which was one of the places where a lot of childless couples would come and they would engage a surrogate mother to bear the child of both of them. So biologically, the child would be related to them, even though they had not been able to, in fact, produce the child themselves. In Now there are two aspects. There is a bill which has been framed, which in my view is a very narrow and restrictive view of surrogacy. It has just been passed by the Lok Sabha. It's been introduced in the Rajya Sabha. It's been lingering since 2019, but it has restricted it only to a married couple, that to a married couple who don't have a child of their own, either adoptive or natural, and or are or the where a woman is infertile. So there are various restrictive clauses which have been weaved in. In my view, a single mother, a single person, a single woman, whether they are NRIs, whether they are persons of Indian origin, why should it be why should they be excluded from the purview of surrogacy? I think the bill actually requires a serious consideration, because after it was introduced in the Lok Sabha, there was a lot of public hue and cry that you are making it impossible. And then they came out with a distinction between altruistic surrogacy and commercial surrogacy. Now, how this arose was, it was known that in Gujarat, there were several women from families who used to almost become a surrogate mother every year. And it was sometimes done under compulsion by the family, because it became a source of revenue for the families. So, therefore, regulation became necessary. Another problem which arose was that very often, if the child which was born was not of the sex which the parents wanted, they would abandon the child. The third problem was that the surrogate mother's health would take a serious beating, because she was not given sufficient nutrition and adequate care during the period of pregnancy and thereafter. And within another 3 months, she would enter into another contract of surrogacy. So, with all these problems arising, it became necessary that this area required to be regulated. But the bill which was introduced, which is called the Surrogacy Regulation Bill of 2019, is a rather restrictive bill, and it was referred to a select committee. It has not been introduced in the Rajya Sabha, but I do think that representations should be made to make it far more open, and you should regulate it for sure, but not confine it only to a married couple. Today there are so many single women, single men who want to bring up children. So one should not confine it only to a married couple and exclude various categories, even the non-resident Indians. If you can oversee the upbringing of the child, then why not? Why have this restrictive clause? It has not been presented before Rajya Sabha, but these are some of my thoughts with respect to the issues which have been touched upon by the Malhotra brothers in their books. And I thought I would share some of my thoughts with you. I congratulate the Malhotra brothers, the prolific writers, on the launch of their 9th book. And I wish all of you the very best this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Your Ladyship. I now extend a kind invitation to Honorable Mr. Justice A.K. Sikri. Justice Sikri, the mentor of the authors, a celebrated counsel of all seasons at the bar, is an eminent jurist, a former judge of the Supreme Court of India, and has also remained the Chief Justice of the Punjab and Haryana High Court. Eminently renowned worldwide, academically and professionally, his humility is par excellence. Presently, he is an international judge at the Singapore International Commercial Court, SICC, Singapore Supreme Court, and is also the chairperson of the News Broadcasting Standards Authority. I humbly request Justice Sikri to run down memory lane of the work in the previous books of the authors with which he has been fondly associated, and give his perspectives of the 7 focus areas in the book. Also, his thoughts on the rapid development of international family law jurisprudence in the Indian perspective. Justice Sikri, please. Justice Sikri, if you could just unmute yourself, sir, please. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Suvir, for your kind introduction. My very dear sister, Indu Malhotra, a very respectable guardian of all of us. I'm using the term guardian because we are talking of this book on guardianship, etc., which is one of the topics. And our friend, philosopher, and guide, Mr. Soli Sorabji, Mr. Malhotra's, Anil and Ranjit, co-authors of this book, Mr. Vikesh and Shirish from the who are the publishers, the audience which is there listening to this program, who are attending this program. My good evening to all of you. Let me, in the first instance, congratulate the two authors, the publishers, as well as Punjab Bar Council, which has arranged this function, this book release function. As it has been said up to now that it is the 9th book which is authored by Malhotra brothers, and first book which was launched and which they had written in 2005, and in 15 years time bringing about and producing 9 books is a really, it cannot be by any stretch of imagination can be treated as a mean achievement. It's a very, very big achievement actually. I came to know of Malhotras when I went as Chief Justice to Punjab and Haryana High Court, and I was impressed by their scholarship and their advocacy. And one PIL, which was in respect of child rights, which was argued by Mr. Malhotra at that time. And I still remember the kind of assistance which was given. And this judgment was given by us just before my departure from Punjab to Supreme Court. I think 1 or 2 days before that. Over a period of time, since they remained in touch, I came to know of so many qualities of theirs, which was mentioned by Suvir also in his introduction. This affinity, mutual respect, and admiration grew phenomenally over a period of time. And let me tell you, my fondness towards them, it kept on increasing when I found they are really very hard working persons. Their passion for writing, which is clear not only from these 9 books which they have authored, but umpteen number of articles and blogs, etc., which they keep writing every second day, every third day. You will find in the newspaper, and I am the in a way beneficial recipient of all these material which is published and which is generously sent to me on WhatsApp by both the brothers of whatever they do. And as you have been told, that apart from arguing in the courts and they're discharging their function as an advocate, in which they are not lacking in any manner, but apart from that, and in addition to that, they have been giving lectures in many national law schools and other law schools from time to time, and touring all over India, not only to students, but they are even educating or training the judges, because they are giving lectures in so many judicial academies on various facets of the family law and participating in so many seminars. And again, not only in India, with various cities of India, but abroad as well, and touring various other countries so frequently. I don't know how they get time to do all these activities, and at the same time, they are in a position to write the books as well. I was just thinking when before me, Mr. Sarabji and Indu Malhotra, Justice Indu Malhotra, when they were speaking, that look, there's some commonality between three of them, because Mr. Soli Sorabji has also written quite a number of books. The two books, outstanding books in the industrial law and the arbitration law, which Indu Malhotra has authored earlier along with her father, and then the later editions of her own, which have become the best books in the respective fields. And same tag can be given to Mr. Malhotra's insofar as book on family law is to be, we have to view any book on family law, and particularly with the present book. But as I was saying, in this, I am one person who has not been able to write a single book so far. I still remember even when I was a sitting Supreme Court judge, and Vikesh and Chirish both coming to me so many times and saying that we will give you all, administrative and other editorial facilities, etc. You please write some. I remember that two or three ventures of mine, which are or things which are half cooked and they are still lying there. I thought that immediately after my retirement, I will be able to complete that. But maybe, courtesy, thanks to persons like Justice Indu Malhotra and other judges, I'm still not retired. I'm doing the work in the same manner. So still, but I think I need to learn something from Malhotra's in this behalf. I was just thinking that you see how one can do so much at the same time, how they are able to get take out time. And as in the when this book was in the process of publication, and I still remember having talked to Vikesh once or twice, he said that look, they are perfectionists. And what happens when the book has come to us with our editing, etc., our team does lot of work and it sends back, they come out with some further improvements in the book. They say no, 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 in the meantime this judgment has come, or that particular development in law has taken place, we want to add that as well. And they keep on improving even when this work is already finished and it is only the publication which is under the process. So that is what Malhotras are. And I am reminded of a famous saying which says that secret of having enough time lies not in working more hours, but in proper planning of hours. I think they know better how to plan. There is a very famous book on management, and the title is What They Don't Teach You at Harvard. And yes, what they don't teach you at Harvard, you can learn that from the way they have mastered their lives, and how, and that is the skills of time management. Maybe if I remember the very famous words of the author Paulo Coelho, who is from this Brazilian author who has written some wonderful novels. In one of his novels, The Alchemist, he has said, when you really want something, the universe always conspires in your favor. If you remember, almost same thing in one of the films, I've forgotten the name of the film, Shah Rukh Khan has spoken the same dialogue कि जब आपको कुछ करना चाहते हैं और आपने ठान ली है, तो सारी कायनात आपके लिए आ जाती है, आपको हिम्मत बढ़ाने के लिए या आपको वो काम करने के लिए. So this is what the two brothers are. And and coming to, as far as book is concerned, I think I don't have to say much on this, because Indu, in her very inimitable style, has told you not only about the book, the 4 chapters of this book out of the 7 or 8 main themes or topics, which are, that is on custody, on adoption, on guardianship law, and on surrogacy. And she has really in I mean 2 minutes, she has touched upon and nailed what are the real thorny issues in all the 4 areas, and how they have to be tackled with, and what are the principles which are to be applied. And this is the glimpse of what is the work of Malhotra's in the present book. And it is very interesting that the book is about, it says the heading is the Global Indians and the Law. Uh, with the globalization from 1991-92, when India ushered into the era of globalization and liberalization, there is so much of foreign direct investment, FDI, into India initially, and naturally we are still things that there should be FII and FDI in India, and the government is always aspiring for that. That is needed for economic development, even because of COVID conditions, and when certain ramifications or repercussions thereof, insofar as China is concerned, India is trying to take a mileage out of it, which is, there's nothing wrong, and many other countries are also vying for that. But what has happened along with that, when it's not only a movement of after 25 years or now almost 28, 29 years of liberalization, it is not only the movement of capital only in one direction. Because now India has also reached a stage where there's so much of capital flowing out of India, and Indian businessmen are investing in so many other countries. With all this, what happens? It's not only and other very connected or interconnected phenomena, which is this, that it is not only the capital in money terms, financial capital movement thereof. There is a significant movement of human capital as well, human resource as well. So there are expats from other countries who are, because of these such collaborations or collaborative business ventures in India. So we find many, and likewise Indians are going out. As it was told to you that today more than 30 million, more than 3 crore people, Indian persons, are in other countries, and the population of many of the countries is not even this much. So in a way, more than a country like Singapore today, I think their population is, I think five to maybe, yeah, 6 or 7 millions. So therefore, that is not even half of what Delhi's population is. So therefore, it is more than some of these countries put together that Indians are outside. But one very interesting phenomena of our personal law is, that is the principle of lex loci, that we take our personal law wherever we go, and that applies to us. And therefore, even if the global Indians, they are Indians and they are spread all over the world, they are bound by, if they are Hindus, bound by Hindu law, and if they're Muslim, bound by Muslim law, which is prevailing, and if they're citizens of India, and likewise Christians or any other Zoroastrians or any other community. And therefore, in that respect, the law, Indian law, and knowledge of that law and how they have to deal with it becomes very, very important, even when they are out. And there's something else. It's not that when a particular Indian is in some other country, he would marry an Indian only, that both the spouses are Indian. Today, the marriages, there may be an Indian is residing in United States, and he has married a girl who is from Mexico, suppose. So therefore, in such circumstances, there's so many issues of private international law when the disputes arise, matrimonial dispute arise, and such disputes may not only between matrimonial, they may be regarding children also, as the topics which were being discussed. They may be on adoption, on surrogacy, on this child custody, etc. So what is going to be the law and legal principles thereon? Today there's I mean, even the private international law in this respect has been changing with a fast pace, not only in commercial activities, but even when we discuss about the relationship, matrimonial relationship or family relationships. So in this scenario, talking about global Indians and the law which is applicable to them, and coming out with this book. It is a unique book in that sense. I don't think any such book has been written, at least in India, so far, giving such kind of, I mean, dealing with the topic in this manner. And as the topic suggests, apart from the four topics which have been touched by Justice Indu Malhotra, it starts with nationality, because and citizenship, because that is the first thing for any person who is living abroad. And then it goes to the marriage and divorce. Along with that, which is related topic, is maintenance in matrimonial matters. And then it comes to children, which is very, very important. Child custody, guardianship, adoption, and surrogacy. And it ends with ultimately overseas Indians, their succession issues. And the last chapter, which is written, seventh chapter, again, conflicts of jurisdiction and anti-suit injunctions, which is again becoming very, very important in any international subjects. Where it is in family law relationship, you have written, I remember Justice Indu Malhotra in her book on arbitration law, her last one of the chapters is also about the anti-arbitration injunctions and anti-suit injunctions. Because without that, the that particular topic or that sector which you are dealing with cannot be completed. So I really congratulate Malhotras on coming out with this venture, and I hope I feel that yes, this today's as it was said that I have been as associated with some last few launches of their books. Mr. Soli Sarabji has been associated with all the 9 launches. This because of COVID condition we are doing on by this medium of video or on a virtual mode. But I still miss just that kind of environment when before the launch and first half an hour we'll have a hot cup of coffee in a the joint, that joint where normally these functions are held, very dear to Mr. Sole Sabi, that is India International Center. And after the launch, normally we may have dinner as well. So that may not happen today, but I assume and I presume, and legitimately so, that the Malhotras will come out with a 10th book. They have to become Das Numberi very soon. And they will come out with a 10th book soon. And for that, we will have a physical launch and we'll revisit all the earlier fond memories, how we used to enjoy those. With this, I give all my good wishes to the authors as well as to the publishers. I know they have done a wonderful, remarkable job in coming out with this book, and they will do equally good job in marketing of this book also, particularly when it is needed by not only those who are in the profession, be the judges or the lawyers, but I think it is needed by all, at least when you talk of global Indian, all global Indians as well. So thank you very much and congratulations once again.
Thank you, Lordship. There's a huge inflow of questions for the authors, but due to paucity of time, we won't be taking up any questions now. You can answer your questions. You can ask your questions directly to the authors. I'll be sharing their email addresses. Now, I request the publisher, Mr. Shirish Chandra, to put on record his gratitude address. Mr. Chandra, please.
Right. Thanks, Suvir. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Shirish Chandra from Oakbridge Publishing, and it is our proud privilege to be a part of the release of this latest title, The Global Indian and the Law, authored by Sri Anil Malhotra and Sri Ranjit Malhotra, in the presence of legal luminaries and honorable judges. I thank Mr. Soli Sorabji, Honorable Justice A.K. Sikri, and Honorable Justice Indu Malhotra for gracing this occasion with their august presence. I thank Suvir and Rajat for facilitating this session. A book release in the work life of a publisher is not a very rare occasion. However, it is a great opportunity for showcasing the outcome of our labor, perseverance, and our prowess to present our author's valuable work in a format and media that helps the reader and the user of the content with the knowledge therein, in adding value to their professional excellence. In a book release event like this one, the joy and the excitement is doubled with the presence of galaxy of legal luminaries and honorable judges. As a young publisher, it has always been our endeavor to publish high quality work in varied areas of practice, and therefore we are delighted to collaborate with our authors, Mr. Anil Malhotra and Mr. Ranjit Malhotra, on this project, as we felt that this would be a very timely addition to the knowledge repository of the professionals in the area of practice. We are of the view that family law is perhaps a unique area of law which touches everyone's life in some form or the other. And in the light of different nationalities and geographies, there are far too many dimensions that get added to the complexities to this area of law. It was indeed our privilege to work with Mr. Anil and Mr. Ranjit Malhotra, two stalwart experts on the subject, to be able to publish this latest title, The Global Indians and the Law. In the process of publishing this book, we have all had very enriching experience interacting with the two authors. I hope the readers will find this book very valuable and authoritative. I congratulate the authors on their ninth masterwork and hope that there will be many more that will come out of their pen. I once again thank our esteemed guests for making time for this event, and I also take this opportunity to thank the Bar Council of Punjab and Haryana High Court and Mr. Suvir Sidhu, who took all the pains to bring us all together on a common platform in these trying times that we are witnessing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shrishi. Thank you, Oakbridge. Finally, I invite Mr. Ranjit Malhotra to give the vote of thanks.
Good evening, ma'am. I'll be very quick. I know you have to leave. We are very grateful to Mr. Sorabji and Justice Sikri, who have been part of our journey. And it is indeed very kind of her ladyship, Justice Indu Malhotra, to take out her time from her extremely busy schedule, especially in COVID times, wherein technology imposes huge challenges on judges. They have to put in double the labor. And Mr. Sorabji, who always looks forward to an event at the Suvir, I can't see Mr. Sorabji. Mr. Sorabji, who always looks forward to an event at IIC. And whenever we reach Delhi, the first thing he will ask us in the morning, have you spoken to Justice Sikri? And in the evening, when he gets down from his car, the first question he asks, those Justice Sikri, as he arrived, his eyes light up with excitement when you mention the name of Justice Sikri. Then he looks forward to a good dinner evening. I'm sure we have disappointed Mr. Sorabji, and Mr. Sorabji, in consultation with Justice Sikri, will impose a penalty of a dinner evening for a day to be decided jointly by Justice Sikri and her ladyship Indu Malhotra. And Justice Sikri has been always very kind, always very inspiring. We have had the privilege to travel with Justice Sikri and Mr. Sonu Sorabji. There has been a learning curve to every experience, every interaction, every conference. And he very kindly introduced us to Oakbridge. And next time Oakbridge sign up with some authors introduced by Justice Sikri, they'll have a real hard time. But it was a learning process both ways. And finally, I would be failing in my duty if I do not acknowledge all the hard work put in by our young, dynamic Secretary of the Bar Council. He's just 30, I shouldn't be saying so. He's done a great job, and I thank everybody once again. Justice Indu Malhotra, her leadership has to lead. We are so ever so grateful to all of you for sparing your time this evening. Thank you so much once again. Suvir, I will just take half a minute.
Yes, sir.
Friends, we are very indebted to our 30-year-old host and our 90-year-old chief guest, who add up to 120. And today I am their half, 60. So I stand between a quarter and a full, and between two legal stalwarts from the legal fraternity who are the beacons of the judiciary. Ma'am, I'm extremely indebted to you for sparing your valuable time in neck-to-neck meetings, writing judgments. I think judges have become lawyers again, besides being judges, because they have to do all the hard work in listening to lawyers and then writing down judgments. and Justice Sikri, who has been a constant endeavor for our support, introducing us to Oakbridge, getting the book together, and most of all, to my friend Suvir, who took upon this unique experience of doing a book launch to the credit of the Bar Council. Thank you, everybody. So nice of you. We are very grateful in attending. We really had a good session. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, one and all. Stay safe, take all precautions, and be merry. God bless us all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.